Ethan observed the illuminated city through the window of the luxurious apartment he lived in. The glow of the skyscrapers was a constant reminder of his wealth and status, but that night, the weight of loneliness pressed down on him. He had achieved everything that many would dream of: a successful career, a high-end apartment, and a rich bank account. However, the incessant search for genuine love seemed like a mirage amid the superficiality that surrounded him. So he decided it was time to leave all that behind, even if just for one night. The disguise he chose was simple but effective. With shabby clothes and an unshaven beard, Ethan turned into a beggar. Looking in the mirror, he realized that the reflected image was almost unrecognizable. But that was exactly what he wanted. He wanted to blend in, to feel the freedom of being just one of the crowd. "Are you really willing to do this?" asked Gabriel, his best friend, as the two walked towards the street party. Gabriel's voice was a mix of concern and amusement. "What if you regret it?" "I won't regret it," Ethan replied, holding on to the firmness in his voice. "I want to experience life in a different way, away from expectations and judgmental looks. Besides, who knows, maybe I'll meet someone special. If you do, I hope she doesn't mind you being a temporary beggar," Gabriel teased, winking. "Because when you return to normal, it will be difficult to explain this sudden change." Ethan laughed, but a part of him knew that the search for true love would be more complicated than it seemed. As soon as they arrived at the party, the vibrant energy enveloped him like a wave. Loud music, laughter, and the mix of aromas from the food stalls created a magical atmosphere. He felt free, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. As he walked through the party, Ethan let himself be carried away by the music, dancing uninhibitedly. The crowd danced around him, and the joy was contagious. It was then that his eyes fell on a figure that stood out, a woman dancing with grace, her long, wavy hair shining under the colored lights. Sarah. The name came to his mind like a revelation. He watched her for a moment, fascinated. When their eyes met, electricity coursed through the air. Sarah smiled, and Ethan felt his heart speed up. It was as if time had stopped. He moved closer, unable to resist the attraction he felt. "Hi," he said, trying to keep his voice calm despite the intensity of the moment. "You dance very well." "Thank you," she replied, a mischievous gleam in her eyes. "And you're not so bad either. What is a beggar doing at a party like this?" "Seeking some freedom," Ethan admitted, his sincerity flowing naturally. "And maybe, who knows, true love." Sarah laughed, a musical sound that echoed in her heart. "True love at a street party? That's bold. You might end up surprising yourself." "I like surprises," Ethan said, feeling more at ease with each word. "And you? Why are you here?" "I'm just enjoying the moment," she replied, looking away for a moment. "Sometimes it's nice to escape the routine." "Escaping the routine sounds like a good plan," he agreed, watching her dance again, as if the world around her had disappeared. The rhythm of the music pulsed through their bodies, and the connection between them felt genuine and intense. As the night progressed, Ethan and Sarah danced, laughed, and shared stories. The vibrant atmosphere of the party seemed to create an invisible bond between them. Time flew by, and the feeling of freedom was intoxicating. Ethan felt truly alive, like never before. But as the music began to fade and the lights began to flicker, Ethan became distracted for a moment, lost in thought about what might happen next. When he looked back at Sarah, she had disappeared, like a mirage that fell apart before his eyes. His heart raced, frustration and confusion mixing in his mind. What happened to her? He looked around, the crowd still dancing, but Sarah was no longer there. "Gabriel," he shouted, desperate. "Did you see where she went?" Gabriel approached, his expression worried. "Who? The dancer?" "Yes, the woman I was dancing with," Ethan said, staring at the crowd. "She disappeared." "Calm down, let's go look for her," Gabriel suggested. But Ethan was already lost in his own thoughts, trying to understand what had happened and how he could find her again. The feeling that he had found something special drove him, and he wasn't about to let it go. She had disappeared. Ethan woke up to the sun's rays filtering through his bedroom curtains, bringing with them the daylight that seemed so far away from the night before. He rubbed his eyes, trying to clear away the fog of confusion that still hung over his mind. The memory of the vibrant party and the magical connection with Sarah was still fresh, but there was an agonizing gap where the details of the farewell should have been. What happened to her? Why had it disappeared so quickly? As he got out of bed, he noticed something shining on the bedside table. He walked over and picked up a delicate bracelet, adorned with a peculiar symbol that he couldn't identify. The bracelet seemed to be pulsing with the energy of the night before, as if it had been left there on purpose, a tangible reminder of that fleeting connection. He held it between his fingers, feeling the cold texture of the metal, as he tried to remember the last moment he had with Sarah. But her image vanished like smoke, leaving only a void. Ethan, he remembered? Gabriel's voice echoed through the apartment, bringing Ethan back to reality. His friend entered without ceremony, as always, and his eyes soon fixed on the bracelet Ethan was holding. "What is that?" "It's Sarah's," Ethan replied, without thinking. The name left his lips like a prayer, a plea for answers. "She disappeared, Gabe. I don't know how, but she was here, and now she's not." Gabriel frowned, clearly skeptical. "Sarah? The girl you met at the party? Are you sure it wasn't just a delirium caused by drinking? This bracelet could be anything. It wasn't a delusion." Ethan snapped, frustration building inside him. "We had a connection, a chemistry, something real. I can't just let this go. I need to find her." Gabriel, noticing the determination in his friend's eyes, sighed. "Okay, so what do you suggest? Shall we go after her? It is like?" The party was crazy. Maybe no one noticed when she left. Ethan's expression softened upon hearing his friend's support. "We need to get back to the site. There may be someone who knows her, or has seen where she went. I will not give up." With a nod, Gabriel agreed. "All right, let's go. But if we don't find anything, you need to promise not to obsess over it. The world is big, and you might find it somewhere else." "I promise I won't get carried away, but I have to try," Ethan said, determined. He wore a simple outfit, a dark t-shirt and jeans, trying to hide in normalcy. As they prepared, the bracelet was still in his hand, like a talisman that guided him in search of answers. Ethan and Gabriel were back at the party site, a vibrant square that pulsed with the energy of the night before. The colored lights were still flashing, but the music had died down, and the place was almost deserted, except for a few scattered groups still having fun. Ethan's frustration grew with each minute that passed without a sign of Sarah. He couldn't understand how someone so special could disappear so quickly. "Let's ask some people," Gabriel suggested, trying to keep his friend's morale up. "Maybe someone saw her leave." Ethan nodded, even though he felt it was an almost impossible mission. They approached a group of young people who were talking excitedly about the party. "Hi, have you seen a woman with a very peculiar bracelet? She had long hair and a dazzling smile," Ethan asked, his voice thick with expectation. The young people exchanged confused looks. "Sorry, man, we didn't see anyone like that," one of them replied, shaking his head. "But the party was insane. Didn't you see the street performers' acrobatics?" Ethan's disappointment deepened. "Thanks," he murmured, moving away from the group. He looked at Gabriel, who had an expression of encouragement. "Let's try some more. We cannot give up." They passed a few more people, but the answers were always the same. No one had seen Sarah. Desperation began to settle in Ethan, who felt as if he was in a maze with no way out. "What's wrong with you, Ethan?" Gabriel asked, stopping to look at him. "You seem a little obsessed. This could all be an illusion, you know?" "It's not an illusion, Gabriel," Ethan replied, his voice rising a little. "I felt it. There was something real between us. I can't just leave her behind." Gabriel sighed. "Okay, let's try one more time. But if we don't find anything, we need to think of another approach. There's no point getting lost here." As they walked, a street artist began playing a soft melody on his guitar. Ethan stopped, drawn to the music that echoed in his soul. He looked at the artist, a man with disheveled hair and a dreamy look, who was focused on his notes. "Hey, have you ever seen a woman with a bracelet like that?" Ethan asked, showing the bracelet Sarah had left behind. The artist stopped playing and looked at the bracelet curiously. "Yes, I saw a woman like that. She was here last night, replied the artist, his tone calm and enigmatic. She didn't seem very comfortable at first, but then she loosened up. He danced as if the world didn't exist. Ethan felt butterflies in his stomach. Do you know where she went? After the party, she mentioned something about a nearby art gallery. She said she wanted to see something that inspired her. The artist said, staring at Ethan, I think it was a famous gallery there. You must go there. A ray of hope lit up Ethan's eyes. Thanks. You don't know how much this means to me. Sometimes, people run away from fame, from pressure. Maybe that's what happened to her, said the artist, returning to playing his guitar. Fame, yeah, maybe. Ethan murmured, absorbing the artist's words. He turned to Gabriel, who had a surprised expression. Let's go to this gallery. Hurriedly, they headed towards the aforementioned art gallery. The path was filled with anticipation, and Ethan felt his heart beat faster with each step. If she's really there, I need to tell her how I feel. I can't let this opportunity pass by, he said, determination evident in his voice. What if she's not who you think she is? Gabriel questioned, trying to be cautious. It doesn't matter, Ethan replied, staring straight ahead. What matters is that I have to try. I can't live with doubt. I feel it, Gabriel. It's real. With their minds full of thoughts, they arrived at the gallery. The atmosphere was sophisticated, with white walls and hanging works of art that seemed to tell stories in every brushstroke. Ethan felt butterflies in his stomach as he walked in, almost as if he was crossing the line between reality and a dream. The search for Sarah was just beginning, and he wasn't going to give up. The art gallery displayed works that provoked a sense of awe and wonder, but for Ethan, the true purpose there was much more personal. As he walked through the brightly lit rooms, he felt a mix of hope and anxiety. The white walls, adorned with paintings by renowned artists, seemed to reflect the incessant search for Sarah, the woman who had crossed his path like a fleeting comet on a starry night. Look at this, Ethan, Gabriel exclaimed, stopping in front of a vibrant painting depicting a cityscape. This work is incredible. Don't you think it has a touch of, I don't know, something reminiscent of yesterday's party? Ethan nodded, but his mind was far away. He approached a screen that captured a moment of dance, the colors mixing in a visual symphony. It was as if, somehow, the painting was telling the story of a lost connection. As he watched, he couldn't help but remember Sarah's eyes, so alive and intense, like the features of the artist who had created that work. Are you well? Gabriel asked, noticing his friend's thoughtful expression. Are you still thinking about the girl who disappeared? Ethan sighed, frustration building inside him. It's like she evaporated, and all I have is this bracelet and a hazy memory. I need to find her, Gabriel. With a nod, Gabriel encouraged him. Let's keep looking. Who knows, maybe someone here knows her. Look around and try to remember any details that might help. Ethan nodded and walked away, exploring the gallery with a new sense of determination. He stopped in front of a work that immediately caught his attention. It was a portrait of a woman in a simple dress, but with a strong and confident expression. The eyes of the figure in the painting were almost identical to Sarah's, and it made his heart race. That's strange, he muttered to himself, admiring the work. It's as if the artist captured her essence. Did you find anything? Gabriel appeared at his side, observing the painting. Does she look like your mysterious lady? Yes, but it's not her, Ethan replied despondently. It's just a painting. I don't know if I'm just daydreaming, but the feeling is so strong. It's understandable. You're emotionally invested in this. But remember, this gallery attracts people of all kinds. Maybe someone here has seen Sarah, Gabriel suggested, trying to cheer up his friend. Ethan shook his head, still absorbed in the work. Maybe I should ask the staff here. They might know the regulars. Without hesitation, he headed to the information desk, where a woman with short hair and thick-rimmed glasses was organizing some papers. With a slight touch of nervousness, he approached. Sorry to bother you, but could you help me? Ethan began, his voice hesitant. I'm looking for a woman who was here last night. Her name is Sarah, and, well, it's complicated. The employee looked at him with interest, adjusting her glasses. Sarah? I don't know anyone by that name, but a lot of regulars come here. What else can you tell me about her? She wore a bracelet with a peculiar symbol on it, Ethan explained, remembering the piece that was still on her wrist. Her eyes were fascinating, full of life. The woman frowned thoughtfully. I'm sorry, but I can't help you identify anyone from that alone. However, I can suggest that you check the guest list for yesterday's party. Some people may have come here afterwards. Would you have access to that list? Ethan asked hopefully. Unfortunately, no. But you can ask the event organizer. They usually have this information, replied the employee, with a sympathetic tone. Discouraged, Ethan thanked him and walked away. The search for Sarah seemed to become an endless maze, and he began to feel like he was running in circles. Gabriel, sensing his friend's frustration, approached. Hey, don't give up now. We can go to the party organizer. He might have something that can help us. Ethan looked at Gabriel, feeling a new breath of hope. Let's do this. We need to find out who she really is. And so, together, the friends prepared to follow yet another clue, determined to unravel the mystery surrounding the enigmatic Sarah. Ethan walked through the empty streets, feeling the weight of frustration on his shoulders. City lights flickered around him, but none of them illuminated his confused mind. He thought of the night before, of the laughter shared with Sarah, of the connection that had blossomed between them, only to vanish into the air like smoke. The bracelet she had left at her house dangled from her wrist, shining in the moonlight. He watched her, and something inside him began to stir. You can't leave me like this, Sarah, he muttered to himself, feeling a wave of despair. Who are you really? He stopped at a corner, the bracelet catching the silver moonlight, and in that instant, a distant memory began to emerge from his mind. Wait, Ethan whispered, his thoughts racing. He remembered an art exhibition he had attended a few months ago, where an artist named Sarah had her works on display. The paintings were vibrant, full of emotion and depth. He had read about her in an art magazine, but the idea that the woman he had met at the party and the famous artist could be the same person seemed absurd. However, all the signs were there, and confusion turned to determination. He needed to find her. With his heart racing, Ethan decided to return to the art gallery. The night was cold, and the wind was blowing gently, but he didn't feel the cold. His focus was on a single mission, finding Sarah and understanding what had really happened. On the way, he thought about Gabriel's words, who had always believed that fame could be a prison for those who just wanted to express their truths. She must have disguised herself to escape the public eye, Ethan thought, as he quickened his pace. When he arrived at the gallery, the lights were still on, and he could see some people leaving. The atmosphere was calmer than before, but creative energy still pulsed through the walls. Ethan walked in, feeling his heart race. He walked through the rooms, admiring the works, but his mind was fixed on a single idea: finding Sarah. Are you looking for someone? A soft voice interrupted him. It was a woman with dark hair and penetrating eyes, who was watching him curiously. Actually, yes. I'm looking for an artist named Sarah. Do you know her? Ethan asked, trying to hide the anxiety in his voice. The woman hesitated for a moment, as if considering her words. Sarah? Ah, you must be referring to Sarah Allen. She's an incredible artist, but I haven't seen her around here in a while. She used to come to these exhibitions, but she stayed away. It was her choice. Choice, Ethan repeated, feeling butterflies in his stomach. Why? She was tired of fame, of superficiality. She wanted to find authenticity in her art, away from the pressure that surrounded her. Therefore, he often disguises himself to be able to live like an ordinary person. The woman smiled sadly, as if she understood Sarah's dilemma. Ethan felt his heart speed up. Do you know where I can find her now? The woman looked around, as if to make sure no one was listening. I heard rumors that she often goes to a small coffee shop downtown where artists and dreamers gather. It's the only place where she feels truly free. Thanks. I'm going there right now, Ethan exclaimed, wasting no time. He left the gallery, feeling more determined than ever. The small cafe was lit with warm, cozy lights. Upon entering, Ethan scanned the place, his heart pounding in his chest. And then, between the tables, he saw her. Sarah, with a notebook in hand, drawing. Her presence radiated a simple beauty, far from the extravagance that fame could offer. "Sarah," Ethan called after her, his heart racing with excitement. She looked up, and a hesitant smile appeared on her face. "Ethan?" She looked surprised, but there was something in her gaze that spoke of recognition and relief. "I found you. We need to talk." He approached, his voice full of sincerity. "You're the artist I was looking for, aren't you?" Sarah nodded slowly, a gleam of understanding in her eyes. "Yes, I am. But you need to understand, I didn't want you to know that. I just wanted to be myself." Ethan reached out, holding the bracelet she had left behind. "But I want to meet you, Sarah. The real you. True love goes beyond appearances, and I don't care about fame or what you are. I just want you." Sarah's eyes glistened with tears as she stood up and wrapped him in a tight hug. "I want that too, Ethan. But what if the truth tears us apart?" "Will not. I promise we will be together, facing everything. What matters is that we found each other, even in the midst of all this chaos." And at that moment, under the soft light of the cafe, they understood that true love was not shaken by the superficialities of the world. Together, they were ready to build a future where authenticity and genuine connection prevailed over any disguise.